$488. $488 for all 6 pieces. At Nelson Brothers, you can complete a room full from the rugs on the floor to the pictures on the wall.
Nelson Brothers love me, and they'll love you too. Whenever you get snack hungry, Little Debbie has a snack for you. Morning break, lunchtime too, midnight snacks or after school. Whenever you get snack hungry, Little Debbie has a snack for you. Fresh because they're wrapped that way, a choice for any time of day.
National elections. The balloting was used as a referendum on...
The early 1950s in central Denmark, a series of mutilated corpses were found in a peat bog much like this one. At first, police theorized they were victims of ritual murder. The police were right, but they were also wrong. You will learn the amazing truth behind these hideous crimes as we journey into the world of the strange, the bizarre, and the unexpected. Witness the death rites of a Balinese prince in a fiery ceremony designed to release his soul for reincarnation. Follow the bizarre travels of composer Franz Joseph Haydn's severed hand. Discover a dream house that sticks out its tongue at convention, and the peeling wall that seems to defy gravity. Observe the unusual rituals of grief practiced in New Guinea. Probe the bizarre mysteries of nature as time slows down. Explore the baffling mystery of the world's most famous violin, the Stradivarius. Join us in a festival where the spirits of the dead are welcomed back in one of the most macabre homecomings on record. And watch as a Texas oil heir is buried in her expensive automobile, tries to prove you can take it with you. The strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. We'll examine those subjects a man named Robert L. Ripley dared us to believe it or not. For centuries, the remote marshlands of Denmark have provided a rich harvest of inexpensive peat fuel. In this dramatic recreation, the fields yielded another unexpected harvest. Stunned workmen were convinced they had uncovered a grisly murder. When police arrived, they noted the similarity to other murders in the region, a suspicion that is verified by pathologists in nearby Copenhagen. Cause of death, strangulation. The examiners also reach another startling conclusion. The victim has been dead for nearly 2,000 years. That 1950 disinterment was not the first such ancient corpse discovered. Hundreds of bodies like this have turned up in bogs all over Scandinavia. This is the Gravelet man. The lack of oxygen in the dense vegetation kept him from decomposing, his skin preserved by tannic acid in the bogs where he may once have walked, and where his throat was cut from ear to ear. Why was he and the others like him murdered? The answer may lie here, in these engravings of an early ritual. Anthropologists theorized that human sacrifice to ancient gods was the price paid for good fortune, for the tribe, not for the victim. Represented graphically on a silver cauldron recovered from another Danish bog, the blood ritual claimed victims that remained hidden for centuries. The bog people are finally at rest above ground in museums like this throughout Denmark. They died hideously, strangled, decapitated, their throats cut. Ironically, those who killed them have disappeared from the face of the earth, while the remains of their victims have survived as mute testimony to the violence of those times. Like the Tolland man. The head is preserved here in the Silkeborg Museum in Denmark. just 6 miles from where the victim died 2,000 years ago. Believe it or not. One of the tallest bell towers in northern Italy is located here in the Piazza del Comune in Cremona. It is a superb example of 11th century architecture. And up here, the Loggia del Militi. On the other side of the piazza, grazie. Ciao. The violin is very big in Cremona. You might say the violin is Cremona, or vice versa. The first of the great violin makers, Andrea Amati, was born here in 1535. And it was his grandson, Niccolo, who later took on a 12-year-old apprentice, Antonio Stradivari. He is buried here, and his secrets are buried with him. This is a Stradivarius. It's dated 1715. He must have been about 71 when he made it. It sold new for $15. Today, it is estimated to be worth...
Lot number 339, the Healy Stradivari, and 100...
A recent auction demonstrates the soaring value of an original Stradivarius.
$10,000. At $110,000, $120,000. At $120,000 now at $130,000, $140,000 with the order here, $150,000. At $150,000 now at $150,000, $160,000, $170,000, $180,000. At $180,000 now at $180,000. At $180,000 then, that is near me and against the room, at $180,000 is their worth. $180,000.
What is a violin? It's a piece of wood, carved and shaped in a certain way. Then it's varnished, and strings of gut are stretched across it. Almost any reasonably competent woodworker can make one. But then, anyone can daub paint onto a canvas. That doesn't make him a Rembrandt or a Renoir. For 150 years, the streets of Cremona were the home of such master violin makers as the Amati family, Carolo Bergonzi, Reggieri, Del Gesù, and Antonio Stradivari. The sound of the Stradivarius violin has never been duplicated or explained. He used a variety of simple tools to create an extraordinary instrument. He even left behind some of the templates he used to shape his violins. Yet careful analysis of his designs had yet to divulge the secret of Stradivari's achievement. Perhaps the secret is here, in the Lombardy wood he used. He selected spruce for the top, maple for the back. Each piece has its particular tone. But the Stradivari's secret is not necessarily in the wood. The varnish he used has been analyzed. No special ingredients were found in it, or in the resin used to seal the wood. Varnish fragments have been subjected to the tools of modern technology, but infrared studies have failed to reveal the secret of the master's magic. Perhaps it will remain a secret forever. The Stradivarius magic is impenetrable to science, but it is obvious to the ear. Concertmaster James Getzoff. One thing we do know, violin makers will never stop trying to duplicate the master. They've been trying for 250 years, and they haven't succeeded yet. The secret of the Stradivarius lies buried with the old man here in Cremona. Exactly what he did, how he did it, we'll probably never know. This is no Stradivarius. But then, I'm no Yasha Heifetz. Believe it or not. London's Royal Albert Hall attracts music lovers from around the globe. Today, believe it or not, they have come to hear the world's worst orchestra. The members of the orchestra are not professional musicians. All are amateurs, and most are unfamiliar with the pieces they're about to play. John Farley, the young maestro, has conducted the orchestra since it was founded in 1970. He is a carpenter by trade and can't read a note of music. Many of the performers share Farley's blatant lack of musical talent. That does not deter them, however, from attacking Thus Spake Zarathustra, the famous composition by Richard Strauss. The former conductors may cringe, but conductor John Farley does not waver. Farley wins, Strauss loses, and Tchaikovsky is next. The soloist is Miss Sally Binding. The piece is the Tchaikovsky Concerto in B-flat minor, and more or less. Incredibly, Tchaikovsky survives the performance and provides the finale with his rousing 1812 overture. With the brass playing at least 2 bars behind everybody else, the orchestra presses toward a triumphant conclusion. For John Farley and his fellow musicians, the performance is over, but not their symphonic career. They plan to return next year to play again. Believe it or not. This 18th century church in Eisenstadt, Austria, is the final resting place of the great composer Franz Joseph Haydn. That's from the 7 Words of the Savior by Haydn. It's lovely, isn't it? The dignified world of classical music occasionally strikes a bizarre note. The history of Haydn's skull is one. Franz Joseph Haydn, the great Austrian composer, died in 1809. Shortly after the burial services, a man named Johann Peter, under cover of night, had Haydn's coffin dug up and his body exhumed. Peter was an amateur phrenologist, an occult science of the day that claimed that you could determine a person's intelligence by studying the bumps on the skull. Infatuated with Haydn's genius, Peter cut the head from the corpse and took it home. There, he very carefully peeled the flesh from the head, glazed the skull, and then put the grisly relic away for safekeeping. Haydn's head somehow passed into the custody of a certain Herr Rosenbaum, whose wife proudly displayed it in a glass case during her famed music recitals. It might have remained with the Rosenbaums had it not been the decision of Prince Esterhazy, a great admirer of Haydn's, to have the composer exhumed and reburied on his estate near Vienna. The headless body of Haydn was discovered, and an outraged Esterhazy, tracing the theft to the Rosenbaums, demanded that they return the head immediately. But to no avail. While the police ransacked the house searching for it, Frau Rosenbaum hid under the bed with the skull. Finally, the desperate Rosenbaum cleverly passed off a bogus skull on Esterhazy, which, with great ceremony, was buried with Haydn's body. Rosenbaum died, and in his will gave back the original skull to Johann Peter, who had first stolen it. From Johann Peter, it passed through a number of hands in the 19th century, eventually ending up at the Society of the Friends of Music in Vienna, where it was augustly displayed in a special cabinet. There it remained until 1954, when the Viennese public, insisting that a great national treasure had suffered enough abuse, put pressure on the authorities to have poor Haydn buried intact. Though his body was in the Soviet zone and his head in the international zone, the occupying powers gave in to popular demand. In the summer of 1954, here in Eisenstadt, in the third funeral service after his death, Franz Joseph Haydn and his head were finally and forever reunited. Believe it or not. A tiny violin that actually plays fits inside a walnut shell made by Fred Bowerman of Friendsville, Tennessee. Believe it or not. Astounding creations of avant-garde architecture and the fantasy house of an artist's dream. See them next on Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Sheer energy pantyhose. What are you going to do with all the extra energy you'll feel?
Make the champ earn his title. Take another spin around the block.
Discover life after 5. So great looking, you'll want to go out in the town. So great feeling, your legs will feel more energetic to go harder, go longer. Sheer energy pantyhose from Legs in new control top, too. What are you going to do with the extra energy you feel?
Freddie, stop fiddling. I'm not. I'm scratching. My shirt's not soft like before. And where's that fresh smell?
Well, I just washed it. You didn't use Downy. There's a big difference without the softener.
Only Downy combines skin-loving softness with April freshness. Makes static cling almost disappear.
Tonight's the night.
Mom, it's softer. It smells good.
They sure notice when you use Downy. And I notice the smile.
April Fresh Downy.
Hey, America, how many chews in a Charleston chew?
One. I've been getting 95 highway, 90 city.
109 is frequently my frequency. Rich, thick nougat and a delicious chocolatey coating make Charleston Chew chewy, but not too chewy. How many chews do you get?
187. 98.6 is normal for me.
America counts on Charleston Chew.
367!
Monday, meet the man who built his own fantasy island. Try a head spin with a wing walker. And the hitchhiker who can hit up to 70 miles on his own set of wheels. That's incredible. Then, kiss the pretty rich girls. Make them sigh. Hunt them down. And say goodbye. Someone's teaching them deadly lessons. Tomorrow.
Planted in a Belgian garden by an American artist, these whimsical creatures are not entirely what they seem to be. These are the playful sculptures of artist Nicky de Saint-Phal. Hi, I'm Catherine Sheriff, and we are, all of us, here in Knokke, in Belgium, in this, the garden of artist-collector Roger Nelland. Nicky de Saint-Phal calls my friends here the Guardians, because they guard a very special dragon, one that grew into a rather large beast. By enlarging her fanciful sculpture, artist Nicky de Saint-Phal has made a basic comment on conservative architecture. A home does not have to look like a traditional house, and many architects agree with her. This house of the Red Tongue was built for the children of its owner. The children have grown up and moved out now, but anyone is welcome. The house was intended to have no straight lines, only to be curved and soft and comforting. It's a place for play and imagination and dreams. A dream house with a long tail to explore. When we talk about our dream house, we don't usually mean something as bizarre as the dragon. But a passion for individuality created this house. And that kind of passion has inspired many others. The trees and the waterfall are inside this building in Hialeah, Florida. In Miami, the doors to get inside are outside. You can walk through or drive through. In Houston, passers-by may think this building is crumbling into ruin. It isn't. In New York, on this street in the Soho district, there's nothing unusual at all, except for these 4 people. They're the principals in a most unusual architectural firm called SITE. Their spokesman is James Wines.
Well, SITE started in 1969 as a kind of protest, really, against bland and indifferent public structures. The fundamental difference, I think, in what SITE is trying to do and what most architects seem to be about is that our buildings are really not about form, space, structure. They're really about ideas, or what it makes you think about. In that sense, it's like a film or a play. When you go to see an evening of theater, you take away nothing except an ambience, or something that it creates in your mind, a picture in your mind. The first project that we did was the Peeling building, which is really a renovation of an existing shopping center. And what we did was we really just simply took the front of the building and took the actual brick and peeled it off into space. This, of course, evoked quite a reaction because it inverted the meaning of the building. The building was no longer just a box. It was a box to which some phenomena was occurring.
One evening, a man from out of state came in his car and pulled up in the front driveway and hopped out and ran up and beat on the door. And in all sincerity, he felt that the front was coming off this building.
The Ghost parking lot is in Hampton, Connecticut. The problem was really a troubleshooting situation. There was a section of the parking lot that no one occupied because it was too far from the shopping center. What do you do with 250 feet of asphalt? So we just inverted that idea and putting the cars under the paving. And we took actual automobiles, buried them partially under the paving, and then just asphalted right over, just rolled the parking lot right over them.
I don't mind if some of them don't. The older people don't. They think it's very morbid. But the younger generation, they think it's great.
The project has since become very much part of that community. In fact, now the community even wants to put a road sign on the main thruway to indicate that this is the home of the Ghost parking lot.
This tilted surprise was unveiled in Towson, Maryland in 1978. Creating extraordinary interest in the otherwise ordinary is one of the guiding principles of SITE architecture.
This, I think, will take a little getting used to.
Store's a beautiful store, but the I don't like the way that concrete, the way it's on the outside.
Gives off an unfinished look, but it's really nice. It's really nice.
It's always been our idea to create simple images, very, very simple, reductive images, which are evocative, or they make you think about something.
The grand opening of this SITE-designed building in Sacramento, California, was just that, but in a startling new way. Resembling a gigantic jigsaw puzzle, the corner is both a freeform sculpture and a surprising new way to get in and get out.
Well, I couldn't believe it. I just thought that maybe something had gone wrong with the architecture. I think it's really neat. I was really surprised the first time I got here, and I looked over, and the thing was out, and I looked back over again. It was pushed in again.
People like the cultural advantages of living in a city, but on all the other hand, they like gardening and the advantages of living in the country. So we thought we could kind of bring these two worlds together in the high-rise of homes, which is nothing but a big steel matrix, very much in the standard high-rise type, except that instead of closing the walls in, we leave it open, fill the landings, the various platforms, with dirt, so you literally buy a plot of land in the sky, and then you can build to suit. So this is the best of all possible worlds. You can be in the city and at the same time tend the garden and have your own image in terms of a private home.
Your own cabin in the sky, believe it or not.
A house divided. A home built in Germany by two brothers who could not agree on its design. Believe it
or not. A celebration of the Day of the Dead, the cremation of a prince, and a woman who elected to be buried in her sports car, next on Ripley's Believe It or Not.
See, I'll work on the average of an 11-hour day, and when I'm beginning to get hungry, I'm not thinking about my work, I'm thinking about my next meal.
It's so satisfying.
Snickers is packed with peanuts. I'll have one at 2 or 3 in the afternoon when I'm hungry, and come dinner time, I'm fine.
Peanuts and peanut butter nougat, caramel and milk chocolate blended together.
Satisfying.
Packed with peanuts, Snickers really satisfies.
I'm not hungry. I know I'm going to be okay till dinner time.
Oh, my kitty cat craves chicken. My kitty cat craves milk. My kitty cat craves tuna. So my kitty cat craves crave. Yeah, my kitty cat craves crave.
Crave Dry cat food gets its taste from real chicken protein, real milk protein, and real tuna protein. Not flavors, but the real protein-rich foods cats crave.
My kitty cat craves crave.
Protein-rich foods cats crave.
Tuesday.
Life is just about the cherry.
Fonzie has wedding plans.
What? He's getting married.
Happy days. Then Squiggy puts the squeeze on Carrie Fisher.
You're from out of town?
No, I'm a Sally boy.
Laverne and Shirley. Tuesday.
Ripley's Believe It or Not will continue in a moment.
Tuesday, Jack objects to another roommate.
Shut up, Jack.
He's company. And secret plans get Violet in trouble.
Right up to your second chin.
9 to 5. Then a poisoned cigar and Max is the mark.
Is Max dead?
Heart to hearts. Tuesday.
The exciting Cole Porter Review, Some Like It Cole, will be at E.J. Thomas Hall Friday, March 11th, followed by the Vienna Choir Boys March 16th. Call 375-7570.
On Ryan's Hope.
Why couldn't you have told me my father was rich and successful and important?
For 22 years, her life was a lie, and she searched for the father she never knew, until a secret letter reveals her hidden past.
Tell no one anything from now.
Get it, Daddy.
Ryan's Hope.
WAKR TV 23, Akron, Canton.
There are few things in life that interest us as much as death. After all, we're all heading in that direction. That's why we have this fascination with the rites and rituals that follow in death's wake.
Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris is the very fashionable resting place of the famous and the not-so-famous because of one unusual entrepreneur.
This was all the dream of a Monsieur Nicolas Frochot, who bought the land to start the cemetery 175 years ago. He had great plans for it. It was to be the inn place to be buried. But he had forgotten one important point. An inn place only assumes that status when inn people use it. And since he had no inn people to start off with, dead or alive, business was very slow. And then he heard that some workmen had discovered the long-lost casket containing the remains of Queen Louise de Lorraine. He quickly arranged to have it transferred to his new cemetery, and business began to pick up. It became fashionable to lie beside a queen, even one as unimportant as Louise de Lorraine.
Soon, new clients were dying to get in.
The list is endless. The famous and the infamous, the in and the not-so-in, all lie here, somewhere in this 280 acres.
Pianist and composer Frédéric Chopin rests comfortably near the unusual memorial to a man who was eaten by a lion. The crypt of controversial dancer Isadora Duncan pales beside the inventive mementos of lesser-known figures. Music hall singer Edith Piaf. French novelists Honoré de Balzac and Marcel Proust share equal billing with the divine Sarah, actress Sarah Bernhardt. And English writer Oscar Wilde remains in self-imposed exile. The simplest, yet perhaps the most bizarre of the tombs is that of rock musician Jim Morrison, defaced by the graffiti of his fans.
As for the enterprising Monsieur Frochot, as an indication of how successful this whole thing turned out, he was able to sell a single plot to the man from whom he had originally bought the land for 272 times what he had paid for the entire cemetery.
Death is a thriving business. Believe it or not. The journey into the netherworld, a macabre cruise down a gentle stream, can be a solemn occasion. These ghostly figures in a mockery of death are participants in a bizarre ceremony called El Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. Celebrated throughout Mexico in observance of All Souls and All Saints Day, the occasion combines ancient Indian tradition and contemporary religious ritual. Once a year, the dead are invited to return for a brief visit with friends and relatives. It is that belief that motivates a carnival atmosphere, an attempt not to frighten the spirits away, but to make them welcome. Despite the gruesome costumes, the mood is perhaps more appropriate for a county fair than for a coming home party at a cemetery. Believe it or not. In New Guinea, the universal pain of loss is shared by an entire tribe. A young girl has died. Her father voices a ritual chant while relatives bring gifts to honor her passage. To honor the death of the chief, however, a more elaborate ritual is enacted. Covered in gray river clay, the chieftain's wife and other female relatives display their grief by wearing beads made from the seeds of a plant known as Job's tears. Tribal law requires the widow to wear the beads during the entire period of mourning, a time that will not end until they have all been removed, one string per day for about 2 years. A ritual burden. The beads are to be worn for all ceremonial occasions. In daily life, however, she is free to wear only a token few. The weight of the symbols of her sorrow are almost 50 pounds. Believe it or not. On the island of Bali, the raising of a tower signals an event of curious joy, the death of a prince. A symbolic conveyance, the tower is used to transport the body of the prince to the site selected for the royal cremation. By cutting away the shroud covering the prince's body, priests provide clear passage for the soul's flight into the world beyond. To further assist the prince on his journey, the faithful gather to provide a final service. It begins at the sound of the kul-kul drum. Although wild and apparently unruly, the raucous parade with the symbolic dragon is believed to protect the passage of the prince by confusing evil spirits seeking to invade his body. A ceremonial bull will be the prince's funeral pyre. At its final destination, the tower will be unburdened and the body transferred to the bull. It will be the last time the people will see their prince. Despite rough handling of the corpse, no disrespect is intended. For the Balinese, the ceremony glorifies the spirit, not the flesh. The prince's subjects pay homage with offerings of expensive fabrics and other gifts. Smaller bulls are filled with the remains of their relatives. For the Balinese, the occasion is a rare opportunity to honor their deceased kin by cremating them in the company of royalty. Ritual flames, the spirits soar. Now free, the Balinese believe, to be reincarnated again. From these ashes, the spirits will return as people or as a new form of life. The life expectancy of an expensive sports car depends on who drives it. A 1964 Ferrari is encased in this box. Inside the car is the body of Texas oil heiress Sandra Eileen West. Wealthy, eccentric, and determined, her final exit was of her own design. Her will specified all the details of her burial, and her attorney was there to answer any questions.
In other words, you have verified that the body is indeed in the car, and the car is in the box.
That is correct.
And the box is sealed.
That is correct.
Inside the car, inside the box, Miss West is wearing her best lace nightgown. For some spectators, a philosophical comment is irresistible.
Well, I think they said we came here with nothing, and we were going to leave with nothing, but she's going to leave with hers.
Got to take it with her.
Taking it with her.
Sealed under concrete in the car she adored, Sandra West illustrates that the rights of death are an individual affair. Believe it or not. A poet's tomb in a living tree. Hans van Tummel was buried inside a tree, and it grew to totally enclose his body. Believe it or not. Probe the bizarre mysteries of nature as time slows down. Next on Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Joe Brown's gone fishing. So has Sally Gray. They're out to catch that light and tasty, flaky, hot fillet gone fishing.
McDonald's and you.
Fillet of fish is hot and tender, tangy sauce and melted cheese. Wouldn't you like to go fishing now? Catch one of these?
Fillet of fishing.
McDonald's and you.
From out of the distance comes a driver's car. Pontiac 2000 for 1983. A car that takes on the road with a smooth shifting 5-speed transmission with overdrive. The ready response of electronic fuel injection. And the steady whirling power of an overhead cam 4-cylinder engine. Pontiac 2000. Pure driving pleasure. At Pontiac, we build excitement.
High C, and they put it in a box. Drink box. The high C drink box.
Take the straw off the rear.
And you put it in here.
They call it the box.
Drink box. The high C drink box.
Introducing High C fruit drinks in the new drink box with the delicious fruit taste of High C and a full day supply of vitamin C.
Just go to the box.
Drink box. The high C drink box.
Wednesday, the high-performance team joins the Central American Revolution.
Now, this is my kind of steam.
High performance. Then, action. Colt turns cop to run down a coke ring.
Hooray for me.
The fall guy. Then,
Steven!
it's the day for homecoming.
My son.
And for a deal.
Your baby for bucks.
But the night's for a wedding. Dynasty. Wednesday. Thursday, baby's got the flu.
Oh, they got them all bundled up like a little burrito.
And 4 babysitters too many.
You want Grandpa Jesse to sing you a song?
Condo. Then, is it something in the air or something in the food?
I love you.
When the love bug strikes Amanda's.
It's an epidemic.
Did you know a wet dog twists its body in 2 ways at once? Its splatter becomes a thundering rainstorm for nearby plants and insects. We see it all because the camera can capture what we otherwise could not see. This hallway connects the studios and offices of a little-known place called the Stroboscopic Light Laboratories. The people who work here call it Strobe Alley. I'm about to be subjected to an interesting experiment. That's why I'm wearing black. I'm about to prove conclusively that the hand, as well as just about everything else, is quicker than the eye. The truth is, we rarely see what's going on before our eyes. Some things move too slowly, or they're too small, or too large, or happen too quickly. In a nutshell, that's why Dr. Harold Edgerton developed the stroboscope, a photographic technique that permits him and us to see things we could never see before. This is Dr. Edgerton's studio at MIT. Hello, Dr. Edgerton.
Good morning. We'd like to have you skip rope for us.
All right.
Climb up on the platform there and aim north.
Which way is north?
That way.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect. Hold it now. Let's get some film in there.
Called Papa Flash, Edgerton began his pioneering experiments in stroboscopic photography over 50 years ago. The technique relies on brief but incredibly bright flashes of pulsating light.
And start going.
I was a lot better at this when I was a little girl.
Look out. We got the rope, we got everything.
How many would there be in there?
Well, it's running 120 a second, and what, it got a quarter of a second?
Quarter of a second.
So we should have 30 pictures in there.
The same stroboscopic technique captured the detailed grandeur of this moment. It can also stop time at the instant a bullet passes through an apple. During World War II, Dr. Edgerton used a similar method to reveal German troop movements in the dark of night.
Introducing Dr. Harold E. Edgerton of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Is stroboscope light?
Stroboscopic photography was in its infancy in 1940, when this Academy Award-winning short film was made. It's narrated by Pete Smith.
Through this invention, you can examine machinery in motion. Here, a common electric fan is used in a simple demonstration that even I can understand. In case you're still skeptical, we'll drop an egg. Fresh, I hope. Yes? No. That egg smashed in the blink of an eye, but let's drop another and see what really happened. It bounces from blade to blade before it breaks. Interesting. Using smoke to point out the action, our prof shows us what these fan blades actually do to the air. Chopping the ozone, the narrow blades send off small whirlpools of air which quickly break up. I always thought that my cat, in lapping her milk, curled her tongue up. But now it's revealed that she curls her tongue down. See? In other words, she brings the milk up on the underside of her tongue. Now, see how smart you get when you go to the movie? In conclusion, we go to the dentist for our final super speed pictures. Most of you have heard, and perhaps have even felt, that cute little drill. Oh, but have you ever seen it in use? In ultra slow motion? No? Well. Ooh. Wow, there it goes. Gosh, what's he drilling for? Oil?
40 years later, Harold Edgerton is still exploring the unseen world.
Before me, there are two streams of water forced by an intermittent pump at 60 times per second. The stream looks continuous to my eye. If I turn on the strobe light, it's obvious that the stream consists of individual drops. And these drops are now coming out at about 60 times per second, and the strobe is operating at almost 60 times per second, so there's a slight motion showing how the drops are formed and how they impact. When we look, we think we see one drop. Actually, we are looking at a sequence of drops because the light flashes for about 2 millionths of a second as each drop passes that particular place.
Where Edgerton has led, others have followed in the pursuit of ultra slow motion photography. Virtually impossible to see with the unaided eye, nature's secrets are revealed under the lenses of high-speed cameras. Until now, such miraculous moments as this went unseen. Raindrops trigger the release of millions of spores in the propagation of mushrooms. In another context entirely, Shakespeare had Macbeth say, "Out, out, brief candle." But how long is brief? And what exactly is out? Watch. Time loses its meaning as an instant becomes an eternity. Believe it or not.
More of Ripley's Believe It or Not in a moment.
Here you go, Leo, a nice bowl of Campbell's soup.
Oh, thanks, Claire.
You know, I missed you last week.
Yeah, well, I've been putting in a little overtime.
At least you're taking care of yourself.
Huh?
Soup, Leo. This article in Reader's Digest says that soup's one of the most nourishing foods you can eat. Why, this Campbell's chicken noodle is just right for a big, strapping guy like yourself.
You know, Claire, it's nice to know that someone's looking out for me.
You noticed.
Campbell's soup is good food.
Mike Dale thinks he's about to eat the same candy bar he always eats. Mike, try a Twix candy bar instead.
Why? I'm happy with my favorite.
Ah, but does your favorite candy bar have a mix?
A what?
A mix. Rich milk chocolate.
I love chocolate.
Creamy caramel.
Chocolate and caramel? They're great together.
And a cookie crunch.
Crunch?
Right, that's the mix.
Twix is delicious.
Twix cookie bars, the chocolate candy with the cookie crunch.
Delicious.
My mascara has to lengthen and thicken, separate and define, and make my eyes leap off the page. It has to last without smudging. It has to have a fiber-free formula, with a brush that's curved to color every lash. It has to make my eyes look big and beautiful. CoverGirl's demanded it. All you do is ask for it.
CoverGirl Professional Mascara. Kraft brings you a dressing idea so delicious it sizzles. A taste so fresh it's juicy. Bacon and tomato dressing. It just had to be Kraft. With real bacon, crisp and lean, real tomato chopped in bits, and a touch of sour cream. If you think it sounds good, just wait till you taste it. Kraft Bacon and Tomato Dressing. For a better twist on taste, America turns to Kraft.
Next Sunday, get ready to go on a fascinating journey as Search shows the perfect killing machine in action.
This is the suit that I was wearing when I got bit.
Search uncovers the mystery of premenstrual syndrome.
The doctor's diagnosis was that I was schizophrenic.
Search is there when a man has a heart attack and survives. Search reveals the secrets of Gaylord Perry's spitball.
I'm going to try to ignore it until I get to the point where I can't stand it anymore, which happens about every 4.5 seconds.
Don't miss this fascinating special next Sunday, Search.
Believe it or not, for generations that phrase has summoned up memories of the marvelous, tales of the fantastic. Believe it or not will forever be associated with the man who popularized it, Robert Bell Ripley. The Ripley Memorial Museum here in Santa Rosa, California, Ripley's birthplace, is a one-of-a-kind, like the man it celebrates.
Originally a church, it was built in 1873 from a single redwood tree that yielded more than 78,000 board feet of lumber. Inside are the remembrances of a man as unusual as any of the oddities he presented to an eager public. Ripley was an avid collector of the bizarre, and the museum contains a number of offbeat items the man picked up in far-off places. For inspiration, Ripley drew on his experience as an intrepid explorer and reporter of the exotic. He was fascinated by human nature, its foibles, its rituals, and in his travels, he saw enough of both to last 10 lifetimes.
Confidant of movie stars, athletes, and kings, visiting more countries than any man in history, Robert Ripley preferred to live alone. By the time of his death, May 27th, 1949, Believe It or Not was read by 80 million people daily in 38 nations, in 17 different languages.
Believe it or not.
This is David Hartman. Tomorrow on Good Morning America, a report on the debut of the U.S. Football League, coverage of the Pope in Central America. Later this week, Grammy winner Melissa Manchester, plus all the news on Good Morning America.
Pat LaLama, Action 6 News.
There's no way I can be believable and trustworthy if someone handed me that script and said, this is it, take it or leave it, whether you believe it or not.
On the club, you can't afford to miss it.
In this hectic, noisy, rat race world we live in, it's getting harder every day to simply relax. But no matter what you have to do, and no matter where you have to go, there's still one way to make your life more relaxing. Just turn your radio dial to 97 FM and turn on beautiful music.
That's
relaxing.
That's WAEZ.
WAKR TV23 Akron, Canton.
In the slums of London's Whitechapel district in 1888, the one thing a visitor could not find was innocence. But few came in search of salvation. Over 1,000 prostitutes plied the dingy streets. But among their clientele was one who came not to consort, but to kill. He was called Jack the Ripper. The victims and the killer are long since dead. But the mystery remains as alive and as puzzling as it was then. At last, after nearly 100 years, we may be on the brink of finally finding out the real name of the psychopathic murderer known only as Jack the Ripper. We'll examine all the tantalizing clues next on the first stop of our journey into the strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. Take a tour of the Paris underground to visit the Empire of the Dead. Witness an extraordinary custom in Japan in which a holy man allows himself to be buried alive. Join a procession in Bali to celebrate a ritual that occurs only once a century. Visit some of the world's most unusual houses. Roll along with the world's largest ball of string and examine the exhibits of a bizarre collection. Measure up to the tallest woman in the world and review the life of a young giant who astounded medical science. The strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. These are the kinds of subjects a man named Robert L. Ripley challenged us to believe it or not. In 1888, the dark streets of Whitechapel were part of the notorious slums of London that historians have described as a great cesspool of crime. Whitechapel was a breeding ground for poverty and violence, and no less than 1,200 prostitutes worked its dingy, gaslit streets and seamy back alleys. For someone with Jack the Ripper's psychotic leanings, Whitechapel was a perfect killing ground. Within a month and a half, the Ripper had murdered and mutilated 4 women. Yet among those who lived and worked in Whitechapel, there seemed to be no alarm. Business went on as usual despite added police patrols and the growing fear generated by the man known then only as the Whitechapel Murderer. With virtual immunity, however, the Ripper continued his bloody rounds. Incredibly, he always escaped without leaving a clue. During his 10-week spree, the Ripper claimed at least 5 victims verified as having died at his hands. As the body count increased, so did the number of suspects. Police investigated a despondent young lawyer, a lunatic Russian emigre, a butcher, a respected physician, and even a midwife dubbed Jill the Ripper, to no avail. But the case was never closed, and the search for Jack the Ripper's identity has yet to cease. Today, startling new theories have emerged that may finally reveal the true identity of Jack the Ripper. The first of these, shockingly, reaches the royal family itself. The suspect's name, His Royal Highness Prince Albert Victor, Duke of Clarence, grandson of Queen Victoria, and in his day, a direct successor to the throne of England. He died at the age of 28,
Some say he spent his final days in an insane asylum. In the early 1970s, an even more fascinating theory came to light. According to Colin Wilson, the premier ripperologist of our time, the most promising trail leads not to the Duke of Clarence, but to the Duke's tutor and intimate friend, a would-be poet known as James Kenneth Stephen. Stephen's poetry reveals a profound hatred of women. But was he the killer, or was it somebody else? If the Ripper was a shadowy psychopath from the slums of London, the odds are we'll never know. But if he came from the same social plane as the Duke of Clarence or James Kenneth Stephen, his life and accomplishments are well documented. And it is there, lurking among those records, that the truth may be hiding. To prove or disprove that His Royal Highness or his close friend was or was not the homicidal maniac the world came to call Jack the Ripper. Believe it or not.
Listen to what the experts are saying about Renault Alliance, the car that closes the gap between European technology and affordability. Motor Trend says the Alliance holds at least one trump card over each of its competitors, be it price, styling, quality, or economy. Car and Driver praises its high technology, and Auto Week calls it one of 82's automotive bargains. $55.95. Renault Alliance, quality and affordability built in America.
Disc photography by Kodak. It's changing the way people take pictures. The Kodak disc camera advances the film automatically, so you can get the pictures you may have missed before. And it knows when to flash, and can flash again in 1 1/3 seconds. All you do is push one button. The Kodak Disc 4000 camera. Bet you know someone who'd love one.
For romantics, its landmarks conjure up a magic of sweet nostalgia. For those who live here, however, it is simply home for the living, as well as directly under their feet, the dead.
Arrête. C'est ici l'Empire de la Mort.
Stop. This is the Empire of the Dead. But we can safely ignore that warning, at least for a moment or two. These catacombs were once part of an ancient stone quarry. They tunnel beneath a fairly well-known section of Paris called Mont Rouge, Red Mountain, and the number of skeletons stored here runs into the millions. Above us, the streets of Paris throb with life. Here, in silence, rest the generations of her dead. They were entombed here in the dark so that Paris, the city of light, could expand. The decision to create a burial ground by burrowing under the city grew out of a simple logic. The surface was needed so that the living would have a place to live. The cemeteries up there occupied some choice locations. So with special dispensation from the church, the dead were evicted. Thousands upon thousands of bodies were disinterred, carted through the streets, and reinstalled here. These catacombs seem to wind endlessly beneath the busy streets of Paris, creating a strange reversal. In the homes and apartments directly above these catacombs, there are fewer than 1 million Parisians. But down here, in the Empire of the Dead, the population is over 5 million. Believe it or not.
In Japan, the bony remains of ancient holy men are given a place of honor. Among the Udono, the mummified bodies of Buddhist saints are objects of worship. They are enshrined in temples such as this and robed in sacred garments because they died by their own hands in ritual suicide. This bizarre custom begins with rites of self-purification. It was practiced only by a small group of ascetic Buddhists in northern Japan. For them, it was a holy act. By choosing death, they believed they could bring good fortune to those who survived them. In this dramatic recreation, Hokkaido Gemmyo Koro prepares to die. The year is 1709. Disastrous floods have laid waste the farms of local villagers. To relieve their suffering, Hokkaido will allow himself to be buried alive. Until he dies, he will ring a tiny bell to remind them of his sacrifice. After 7 days, the gentle sound of the bell ceased, but the threat of a disastrous flood vanished. Statues marked his memory as prosperity returned to the valley. He was now regarded as a saint, but his request to be exhumed in 100 years, specified in his final testament, was forgotten. 270 years passed. The valley again became the scene of a series of mysterious occurrences. Floods and fatal accidents became commonplace. Then their memories jogged. The village elders remembered the saint's will and set out to find the ancient tomb. Landmarks had been obliterated, and only legend was left to guide them. With the help of professional archaeologists, the villagers located an ancient gravesite, but no one was sure it was the tomb of Saint Hokai. Unless they could fulfill the terms of his final testament, requiring them to exhume his body, there was no guarantee that his spirit would not continue to move restlessly and dangerously among them. Then, in the thick clay, they found an artifact, a metal device the saint may have carried. And then, a moment later, proof that the saint had been found. 170 years too late, his body had decomposed. The delay and the moist soil had deprived him of his wish to become a mummy, a Buddha in the body. Now only his skeleton remained as a reminder of his sacrifice. Today,
The bones of Saint Hokai are displayed on the altar of the Udono Buddhists, who pray for his ultimate entry into nirvana. In Bali, once in 100 years, the 11 aspects of the great god Shiva, marked with specific colors, are called forth. For on this day, one of virtually every animal species of Bali will be sacrificed to assure peace for all mankind. The faithful gather to witness and participate in this extraordinary celebration. Each creature, they believe, will be reincarnated into a higher form of life. They also believe the victims go happily to their fate. Each step of the ceremony is orchestrated by the dictates of ancient ritual. To symbolize eternity, every creature is led 3 times around the temple in a clockwise direction. Such non-domesticated animals as a crocodile are carried through the procession so that they too may benefit from the blessings of the Balinese gods. With the tap of a sacrificial sword, each beast is rendered symbolically dead. The actual ritual will take place at a specially erected temple, a temple that for the moment is the center of the universe. A ritual ceremony precedes the blood sacrifice. To them, it is a way to restore the balance between good and evil. As the ceremony ends, the sacrifice begins. The conclusion of the ceremony is signaled by the eerie sound of a conch shell. For the devout, the sacrifice provides a feast for the gods and a blessing for themselves. Finally, there is a silent prayer for peace and harmony throughout the universe. In the United States, the rituals of death sometimes take unusual turns, becoming, in their own way, as fascinating as those of far-off lands. This chapel, for example, features a unique way for the loved ones of the dearly departed to pay their final respects. Originated in Atlanta, Georgia, the idea of a drive-in funeral home has not yet become a national phenomenon. In time, however, the concept might become as commonplace as fast food restaurants, drive-through banks, and drive-in theaters. In California, there is already a drive-in church, and worship or bereavement is not lessened simply because it is put on wheels. Two parking meters with time expired mark the grave of Archie Arnold near Fort Wayne, Indiana. Believe it or not. Next on Ripley's Believe It or Not, a tour of a palace intended to be a tomb. A house made of bottles and junkyard discards. And a tea house where everything is upside down.
See, I work on the average of an 11-hour day. And when I'm beginning to get hungry, I'm not thinking about my work. I'm thinking about my next meal.
It's so satisfying.
Snickers is packed with peanuts. So I'll have one at 2 or 3 in the afternoon when I'm hungry, and come dinner time, I'm fine.
Peanuts and peanut butter nougat, caramel and milk chocolate blended together.
Satisfying.
Packed with peanuts, Snickers really satisfies.
I'm not hungry. I know I'm going to be okay till dinner time.
Freddie, stop fiddling.
I'm not. I'm scratching. My shirt's not soft like before. And where's that fresh smell?
Well, I just washed it. You didn't use Downy. There's a big difference without the softener.
Only Downy combines skin-loving softness with April freshness. Makes static cling almost disappear.
Tonight's the night.
Mom, it's softer. And it smells good.
They sure notice when you use Downy. And I noticed a smile.
April Fresh Downy.
Did you brush your teeth yet?
Math test tomorrow.
Can't help you with metrics.
I thought you knew everything.
Hey, I do about some things, like cavities.
Oh.
I know you could get even fewer than I did.
How you know that?
Because I know Advanced Formula Crest has fluorostat.
So?
Compared to the crest I grew up on, it's even tougher.
My homework's tougher, too.
Quit worrying. You always make Mom and me real proud.
With Crest, your kids could have even fewer cavities than you did.
Wednesday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain, it's Holiday Magic. With that little guy with the great big heart.
Sleep in heavenly peace.
Ziggy's Gift. And it's everybody's favorite snowman. Frosty the Snowman.
Oh, hello.
In a Winter Wonderland special.
The Ponte Vecchio Bridge, Florence, Italy. Its unusual design dates from the 14th century. It all started with the butchers putting their shops on the bridge so that they could toss their waste trimmings over the side. Then they built their homes behind the shops so that they could improve their efficiency even more. And then, over a period of years, like Topsy, it just grew. Of course, the problem was that besides putting a mess into the river, their shops smelled bad. So the ruler of Florence, Cosimo I, evicted the butchers and moved in the jewelers and the goldsmiths that are still here today. As a result, it has become a major tourist attraction. Some people may not feel secure living on a bridge, but the Pontevecchians are pretty confident. In World War II, they survived the Germans, who blew up every other major span across the Arno River but theirs. And they survived the otherwise disastrous floods of 1966.
Apparently indestructible, the Ponte Vecchio is as permanent an address as this elaborate palace in Haute-Rive, France, the creation of one man. Handmade from rubble and concrete, it is the work of a postal clerk, Ferdinand Cheval, who collected his building materials during his daily rounds. Using stones picked up along his route, Cheval erected what he called the ideal palace. Working alone, he devoted 33 years to transform his dreams from eccentric sketches into even more eccentric reality. The labor of love was begun when Cheval was 43. It was completed when he was 77, and it was his intention to be buried within its beautifully grotesque chambers. A French law, however, denied him his resting place. The castle was his home, but his grave would have to be in a public cemetery. Undaunted, the determined postmen set out to obey the law. He constructed yet another palace. It was completed in time. Ferdinand Cheval died in 1924 at the age of 88. He is entombed here, yet there is no epitaph. He inscribed his true epitaph on his original creation. Life is a swift and losing race, but my thoughts will endure with this place. Endurance and eccentricity seem to go hand in hand. In California's Simi Valley, a house made of hundreds of thousands of bottles started out as the whim of a feisty old lady known locally as Grandma Prisbury. She is now 87.
I used to be in politics in North Dakota, and I had 17,000 pencils when I come from there. It was my hobby. I went to get cement blocks to build this house for my pencils. My God, they were so expensive, so I went over to the dump, and I thought I'm going to make it out of bottles.
Construction began in 1955. The building materials were there for the taking, so she did.
They sold the dump for an airport, and they closed up. So I took my Studebaker. I had a Studebaker pickup. So I went down there the last day, see what I could find, and boy, did I ever have a load. But I was coming down the pike there, and I saw a red light and heard a horn. I knew what that meant. And I said, now what have I done? But he said, you got a license to carry that stuff? I said, no, I haven't. He said, your back window's broke. I said, I know it. He said, you haven't got no taillight. I said, I know it. He said, you haven't got no muffler either. I said, I know it. And I haven't got no license either. Do you know that?
Grandma Prisbury's determination to build a suitable shelter for her pencil collection resulted in the construction of 13 different buildings in almost 25 years. And in the process, she transformed junk into art. Bottles are the basic material, but Grandma's taste is eclectic. She collects everything, including toothbrushes. Discarded lipstick tubes are just what she says they are, conversation pieces. So is everything else. To Grandma Prisbury, even abandoned dreams are worth saving. Guided by nothing but her imagination, Grandma Prisbury did not intend to create a monument, but she has.
You ever see a sign like that? San Francisco World's Fair in '39? You wasn't born then. But they make such remarks about my walk. You know, the men think more of that walk than they do of any house. Because everything I found at the dump, you know, I've got guns and everything in there.
Preserved in concrete, the refuse of the past as well as the house itself was considered by some to be an eyesore and was threatened with demolition. For the moment, however, it is safe. In 1982, Grandma's Bottle Village was declared a California State Historical Landmark. Nonconformity in the selection of building materials is not limited to California. In Telluride, Colorado, Otto Anderson didn't need a license to create this fanciful design. All he needed was the plates. Despite its unusual siding, the Anderson house still looks like a house. That is not always the case with other imaginative builders. In Tacoma, Washington, Bob's Java Jive proclaims the house specialty for all to see. In Japan, things are not so obvious. The Papin Coffee Shop in Kurashiki is a popular restaurant despite or perhaps because of, the upside-down view it provides of the world. The tables are on the ceiling, and the potted plants grow down from the floor. Why did they build it? Perhaps just so we could say, believe it or not. A house in the West Indies was built to look like a ship sailing out to sea. Believe it or not. Next on Ripley's Believe It or Not, the competition to roll up the world's biggest ball of string and one of the most bizarre collections ever put on display.
You're gonna want one.
I want one.
Introducing the sporty new Nissan Pulsar NX. A whole new look in Hemi-head road muscle.
I want one.
5-speed stick hitch to front-wheel drive. Power rack and pinion steering, all standard.
I really want one.
The Nissan Pulsar NX costs half as much as it looks.
I got one.
You're gonna want one.
Betcha.
Mr. Arcade, I need help. My husband won't come home.
Pac-Man, I can help.
Get him, Pac-Man!
Stand back. This is the official tabletop version of Midway's Pac-Man.
It looks the same.
And it plays the same. Monsters, power capsule, sounds, even displays best score. And best of all,
you can take Pac-Man home.
Official Midway Pac-Man for 1 or 2 players. The arcade game you can take home with you from Coleco.
Monday, check into the Hotel of the Future, a room with no room. And check out the firefighter whose story will light up your life on That's Incredible. Then, the heat continues as the Miami Dolphins battle Tampa Bay. Monday Night Football is back.
Tomorrow.
Ripley's Believe It or Not will continue in a moment.
Thursday, Chachi helps Joni get an A.
Whenever he scares you, just imagine him sitting up there in his underwear.
Then Jenny needs a woman to talk with.
Your father was just about to propose to me.
Star of the family. Then the football special. Can the Rams battle back against the world champion 49ers?
Thursday, every weekday, ABC News This Morning with Steve Bell and Kathleen Sullivan.
Politics, conflict, arms race.
All the news this morning.
Wall Street, unemployment, economy.
All the business news this morning.
Rain, shine, hurricanes.
All the weather this morning.
Baseball, football, racing.
All the sports. ABC News This Morning, just before Good Morning America with David Hartman and Joan London. What you need to know as you begin your day. ABC News This Morning, uniquely qualified to bring you the world.
WAKR TV 23, Akron, Canton.
For collectors, Discovery Day at the Museum of Natural History in Los Angeles is a golden opportunity. Once a year, museum experts appraise for free anything that can be found and carried in from dusty attics or musty cellars. And the variety is endless.
Probably between 1810 and 1820.
J.D. Kessner, one of the best German makers of dolls. The best dolls have been made in Germany and in France. But it is a little boy, and little boys are more valuable as dolls than little girls.
It's a bronze sword. And most of them are between the 7th and 6th century B.C.
Been in the family for about 80, 85 years. I was brought back to the Midwest by an uncle of mine who came out here.
Okay, this is standard issue Nazi era Germany SS dagger. See the little lightning bolts here? Right now, collecting war souvenirs from the Nazi era is one of the biggest collecting instances in the United States. What is it?
We don't know.
I don't know, to be honest with you.
19th century wooden marbles, war souvenirs, not so valuable bones, potentially valuable pottery. Collectors will collect anything and everything. A piece of string. Useful for tying up packages or to keep a child entertained. This trick is called Jacob's Ladder, and this
The witch's hat. Perhaps I'd better save this. It might come in handy someday. Most of us usually squirrel things away, big things, little things, all kinds of things. There's no limit to what people will collect, and no explanation of why we do it, unless somehow it's a habit we inherited from a time when our parents or grandparents lived with a simple rule. Don't throw that away, you may need it tomorrow. Even a piece of string. Collecting string has been an avocation of Francis Johnson in Darwin, Minnesota for over 30 years. Mr. Johnson is almost 80 now, and until recently still made occasional additions to his 20,000-pound ball. At one time, it was a matter of pride that it was the biggest in the world. But now, he figures it's time to retire from active competition with the folks in Cocker, Kansas, who have set out to take the title away from Francis Johnson. Here in Cocker, string collecting is a serious business. There's more than a ball of twine involved. What's at stake is civic pride. Every year they stage a parade to encourage string collectors of all sizes. To win the coveted title, the good people here are taking no chances. They intend to beat Francis Johnson at his own game and to put Cocker, Kansas on the map as the string collecting capital of the world. One day, perhaps, Cocker, Kansas will be as famous as Florence, Italy. In the meantime, this ancient Italian city can rest comfortably on its romantic reputation, as well as on the variety of its collectors and collections. One of the most bizarre is this: lifeless bodies frozen in eternal grace. Housed in a special room called La Specula, the exhibit is displayed in a Florence museum. The collection is the inspiration of the Grand Duke of Tuscany. He conceived the idea of an anatomical encyclopedia, a display to illustrate the marvelous complexities of the human body. Prepared under the supervision of an eminent scientist of the day, the anatomy is perfectly preserved. Each vein and muscle is clearly delineated. The figures are the work of artist Clemente Susini. He devoted almost 40 years of his life to create them, and they are made almost entirely of wax. In the 18th century, they were teaching tools for surgeons. Startlingly realistic, the figures are no longer in active use, but they do remain as remarkable examples of 18th century art and ingenuity. War is not hell. It's a game for a most unusual group of collectors. In recreating World War II, the Texas-based Confederate Air Force operates 122 warplanes, the largest privately owned collection in the world. It is the result of 25 years of work by dedicated pilots and aviation buffs. The F-4F Wildcat, P-63 King Cobra, the British Spitfire, the Spanish ME-109, vintage bombers and fighters, War machines that are now gigantic playthings for nostalgic pilots. Brought together by the group's founder, Confederate Colonel Lloyd Nolan.
I spent the war in the training command and didn't get to fly the high-speed combat airplanes. And as soon as the war was over, they began selling some of the combat airplanes as surplus. I bought one just to feel the power and the flying experiences that I'd missed during the war.
Some of those experiences are regularly demonstrated. That's a B-17 coming in on a wheel and a prayer. In order to fly such vintage aircraft, the Confederate Air Force must first find them. Abandoned for 17 years, these wrecked B-29s were discovered in a California desert. The once mighty flying super fortresses were now stripped, hollow shells. Restoration would be difficult, but not impossible. Within 9 weeks, with scavenged parts, a single super fortress was reassembled. With luck, it would fly. It is the only B-29 in the world still flying. Matchsticks or candlesticks? Some people collect anything. No two collectors or collections are alike. But perhaps the most bizarre collector of all time was the good King Ferdinand I. He ruled the city-state of Naples for a brief but bloody period in the 15th century. He was not the most benevolent of despots, and even in those medieval days of violence and vengeance, his collection was probably considered at least unique. Ferdinand collected enemies. He liked to keep them near him, safely tucked away in his dungeons, or on view where he could keep an eye on them. It was a way perhaps to let his allies know the value of his friendship and his adversaries the price of his displeasure. For King Ferdinand could show one and all in his private museum the embalmed bodies of his enemies. It was a sizable collection. Each corpse was appropriately attired, of course, and mounted for proper display. As a result, King Ferdinand may deserve another title to go with his crown: the most deadly serious collector of all time. Believe it or not. Walter Kavanaugh of Santa Clara, California, has collected over 1,100 credit cards. Believe it or not. Next on Ripley's Believe It or Not, a look at the private life of the world's tallest woman, and a look back at the young giant who astounded medical science.
Right now, wrap up a beautiful Christmas at Sears. Save $100 on this 19-inch color TV with electronic quartz precision tuning and automatic one-button color. Now $399.95. Save $250 on this video recorder with visual search. And save $120 on this cassette and 8-track stereo. Records on cassette and has digital frequency readout. For holiday savings throughout the store, you can count on Sears.
But I thought you wanted to go.
And I thought you wanted to go.
Let's have some coffee and talk about it.
Times like these are made for Taster's Choice.
When it's time for decaffeinated, Taster's Choice Decaffeinated. A premium blend of coffee using only natural decaffeinators from the bean itself. The purest coffee flavor for your best coffee times.
Watch.
how the magic of automatic instant cameras and film can turn one Eastern Airlines ticket into two. First buy a Codematic camera, or a Champ and instant film, or just instant film. Then choose one of Eastern's magical destinations. Buy one round-trip ticket at full fare, and Kodak will give you another ticket free. No one else matches this magic, so don't walk. Fly to your photo dealers for details. Let's go.
Acapulco.
Tuesday, Casey dates the latest American hero.
Captain Whizbang is here.
Happy days. Then Laverne is cursed and Rhonda winds up walking small.
Rhonda, the stuff you wear.
Laverne and Shirley. And Jack's fallen for a married woman.
A real-life Jack in the bar.
Three's company. And Violet's having an affair.
He is handsome, he's warm, he's sensitive, he's charming.
Why, thank you. 9 to 5. Tuesday on ABC.
Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he live or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread.
For centuries, that fearsome warning has been a familiar part of the folklore of the British Isles, because those words signified that somewhere in the vicinity, a hungry giant was on the prowl. But here in East Sussex, England, there's a giant who doesn't get around much anymore. He's known as the Long Man of Wilmington, and he's said to be the largest representation of a human figure anywhere in the world. He's over 230 feet tall, carved into the underlying chalk of Windover Hill near the village of Wilmington. From fingertip to fingertip, he's almost as wide as he is tall. The outline of the giant's body is regularly renewed by local residents, yet no one knows who made the original drawing or why. Over the years, there have been many theories, but a local legend is by far the most appealing explanation. Once upon a time, they say, a real giant laid down upon this very hillside to rest. When his snores alarmed the countryside, some courageous members of the neighborhood crept up to the sleeping monster and slew him. After the deed was done, the people of Wilmington gathered round the body and, to commemorate their triumph, outlined his figure on the hillside. Now that's truly a tall story. Yet the mysterious Long Man of Wilmington conjures up an even greater mystery. Did a race of huge man-like creatures ever really exist? And if they didn't exist, why were so many people for so many years convinced that they did? Because, believe it or not, there is hardly a place or people or period in history that doesn't have its colorful tales of giants.
There's a story told in the book of Samuel. A shepherd named David, armed only with a sling, met Goliath, the chosen champion of the Philistines, on the field of battle. In this movie version of that ancient tale, a few liberties were taken with the plot. In the Bible, David needed nothing but a stone to slay the giant. Inevitably, giant killers are heroes, the giant a villain. In reality, however, giants can be as gentle as Robert Wadlow. At the age of 21 in 1939, he was more than 8 feet 8 inches tall and weighed 491 pounds. Quiet, shy, sensitive to his size, Robert Wadlow was hesitant about appearing in public. This film was made to promote the company that manufactured his shoes, size 37 AA. For him, a visit to New York was as much an ordeal as an outing. Yet cameramen lost no opportunity to accentuate his height. Even New York's Governor Al Smith participated in sight gags.
May I take a picture of you, Governor? Certainly. I'd be glad to have you taken. Thank you. Thank you. You're all right.
As the result of a pituitary dysfunction, Robert Wadlow continued to grow until the day he died. It was a painful fate. What was normal for others was to him acutely uncomfortable. In his hands, an ordinary teacup would disappear. From wrist to fingertip, each hand was over 1 foot long. With his father, Robert Wadlow pursued a dream of going into business for himself as a shoe salesman. But the dream ended with his death at the age of 22. He remains, however, the tallest man in modern history. The tallest woman is still very much alive in Niagara Falls, Canada.
Today. My name's Sandy Allen, and I'm the tallest living woman in the world. I'd like to welcome you to the Guinness Museum. My height is 7 feet 7 1/4 inches. I'm 24 years old, and I weigh approximately 440 pounds, give or take an ounce or two. When I was born, I was just an average-sized baby, but I soon began to grow pretty rapidly. By the time I was 10, I was standing 6 feet 3 inches tall. By the time I was 14, I stood 7'1".
Hold on.
Can I help you?
At home, Sandy's mother is a part-time tailor and full-time audience for Sandy's comments about her work.
Anything exciting?
Crazier than ever. You know, the other day, some fella came in. He was very serious. And he came in and he said, "Are you the one that's 101 years old?" Good thing I'm not violent. I'd have punched him in the nose. Stand up straight now, Shorty, so we can get you in this picture here.
Despite her public good humor, Sandy Allen has private problems. Simply taking a stroll with her normal-sized 11-year-old brother has become increasingly difficult.
I'm definitely not a tough person. My 11-year-old brother could beat me up, actually, I think. I'm what they call a gentle giant, let's put it that way. I've got to keep a positive thought on my side, although sometimes it gets me down. I'm not perfect, I'm only human.
In basketball, measuring in at 7 feet is becoming par for the course. That's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, number 33, topping out at 7 feet 2 inches. And challenging him one-on-one, Wilt Chamberlain. When these talented giants play against each other, however, height is no longer an advantage. And win or lose, their movements become an exhibition of grace in action.
Basketball players and just about everybody else seem to be getting taller these days.
I've always wanted to know how it felt to be a junior petite, size 4. Now I know. These ladies and gentlemen are all members of the Tip Toppers Club. Anybody can join. Anybody, that is, who measures up to the minimum height. 6 feet for women, 6 feet 4 inches for men.
Somehow, tip-toppers in California are taller than the national minimums 5'10" for women, 6'2" for men, which lets me in by an inch.
The Tip Toppers Club was founded in 1938 and took a giant step, sorry about that, toward becoming a national organization when the founder appeared in newspapers across the country in this cartoon, drawn by, you guessed it, Robert L. Ripley. The organizer of the first tall club in Los Angeles, Mrs. K. Sumner Einfeld, was working for Walt Disney as a cartoonist at the time. Her job? Drawing the 7 dwarfs. Believe it or not.
More of Ripley's Believe It or Not in a moment.
This is it. Excitement. This is your chance to get 10.9% financing on 100% pure driving excitement on all 1982 Pontiacs. 10.9% on Firebird, Pontiac 6000, T1000, Phoenix, J2000, Bonneville Model G, and Grand Prix.
Excitement.
But hurry. You must take retail delivery between now and December 31st to get this low 10.9% financing. At Pontiac, we build
Excitement. You know, there are times when you could use a little something extra to help keep you going. Like a delicious Milky Way bar. They can help you get through active times when you need it. Thick milk chocolate, caramel, nougat, they're all in there, and those calories help keep you going. Hey, Hotshot, aren't you coming? Milky Way helps keep you going.
Tales of the American West have become the stuff of legend. So much bigger than life that names like Buffalo Bill, Wyatt Earp, and Jesse James have taken on an almost mythic quality. Lost in the shadows of those legendary giants, lesser-known characters have been all but forgotten. One of them, a salty stagecoach driver named Charlie Parkhurst, however, deserves a better fate than anonymity. Described as short and wiry with a high-pitched voice, Charlie was a veteran teamster during those rough and ready days of the California gold rush. Then after about 20 years, Charlie retired and opened a saloon on the Coach Road south of San Francisco. A few years later, rheumatism set in and Charlie retired to a small town called Watsonville in California. And that's where Charlie died. 67 years old and all alone. That was in 1879. Well, then what, you might ask, makes Charlie so worthy of sharing some of the glory of the Old West? The local folks who laid Charlie out for the funeral provided the answer. It was then that they discovered Charlie's best-kept secret. Among all the cowboys of the day, he was unique. Well, he was a she. Charlie Parkhurst was a woman. Believe it or not. Next on Ripley's Believe It or Not, explore the shadowy corners of the earth to witness some of the most bizarre celebrations ever recorded. Go prospecting for gold in a field so rich, each claim is measured in inches. Unravel the deadly secrets lurking in the hidden world of reptiles. And take a close-up look at some of the world's weirdest attempts at personal adornment. Next on Ripley's Believe It or Not.
This is Frank Gifford. Tomorrow on Good Morning America, Vice President Bush and Cher. This week, Martin Sheen and Merv Griffin on Good Morning America.
Wednesday, famous cartoon character Ziggy comes to life in his own warm, wonderful animated special, Ziggy's Gift. And Frosty the Snowman gets a wife to brighten his life in Frosty's Winter Wonderland. 2 ABC Christmas specials for you and your family. Now stay tuned for Matt Houston next, followed by Robert Redford and Jane Fonda in The Electric Horseman.
Controlling high blood pressure, drugs, or diet. Monday, watch ABC.
County, call Fair Housing Contact Service. Telephone 434-2131.
It seemed like an ordinary Christmas, but at the stroke of midnight, magical things began to happen. Toy soldiers came to life. The Christmas tree grew to a giant size, and you'll experience it all when you see The Nutcracker by the Atlanta Ballet, coming soon.
See The Nutcracker at E.J. Thomas Hall. School vacation matinee and evening performances December 22nd and 23rd. Call 375-7570 for reservations.
WAKR TV 23, Akron, Canton.
Locked away behind walls such as these, a man once spent 34 years of cruel isolation with his face hidden, even from his guards. They were also told to kill him on the spot if he so much as uttered a single word about his past. Who imprisoned him and why? Some answers to those questions provided the basic plot for the classic tale by Alexander Dumas, The Man in the Iron Mask. It was a fascinating work of fiction, but it was based on an even more astounding fact. There was a real man imprisoned behind a real mask, and we'll attempt to reveal the face lurking behind it as we begin our exploration of the strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. Join an expedition to rescue a fabled treasure of Egypt and pay what could be a last visit to view the Last Supper, now in danger of destruction. Take flight on the wings of a falcon as it seeks out its prey. Explore the icy waters of the South Atlantic as a marauding sea lion creates panic in a colony of penguins. Tour a miniature city in Denmark and take a close look as patient artistry transforms matchsticks into masterpieces. Witness the tense moment when a diamond in the rough is transformed into $1 million jewel or shattered into fragments. See the art of ancient cavemen before it is lost forever. The strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. These are the kinds of subjects a man named Robert L. Ripley challenged us to believe it or not. A mask of iron forged during the reign of Louis XIV was the dramatic centerpiece of a most unusual punishment depicted in The Man in the Iron Mask, starring Richard Chamberlain. As told by Alexander Dumas, the bizarre imprisonment was decreed by the King of France. The royal command was terrifying in its sinister simplicity. The prisoner's face was to be sealed behind the iron mask forever.
No, I beg you, no. I have done nothing. Please, I beg you, no.
In Dumas' classic novel, the unfortunate hero was doomed to live within a mask of iron. And in the book, as well as the film, the hero finally escapes. In reality, however, there was no happy ending. The actual hero did not survive his imprisonment, and the mask was not of iron, but of velvet. The year was 1669. Operating under secret orders issued by the king, a certain Captain Saint-Maur was placed in charge of a man whose identity was to be as carefully guarded as his person. Although sealed into a velvet mask, the prisoner was not to be mistreated. The captain was authorized to kill him instantly if the stranger spoke his name or attempted to reveal his face. The king's orders were followed to the letter, and a lifetime of anonymous imprisonment began for the man in the velvet mask. Those are the bare bones of the story. Of far more interest are the reasons behind the man's strange incarceration. Among the various theories advanced, the most astonishing is that the mysterious man in the velvet mask may have been the true father of King Louis XIV of France. King Louis XIII, it seems, was incapable of producing an heir. To assure royal continuity through Queen Anne, some say courtiers arranged for a child to be sired by the masked stranger. So, to keep the secret safe, he was supposedly dispatched to the French colony of Canada in hopes he would be forgotten. But when Louis XIV succeeded to the throne, the man decided to return to France. As father of the king, he assumed that great wealth and the glitter of court life at Versailles would be rightfully his. He expected a royal welcome from his son. Instead, he found oblivion. It was said his resemblance to the king was uncanny, and for this reason alone, his face was never to be seen. His last years were spent in the Bastille, where he died in 1703. He remained a mystery to the end. His body was buried under a false name, and his occupation given as valet. But was he the father of a king? No one will ever know. After 34 years of imprisonment, the man in the velvet mask was dead. And the court of France promptly forgot he had ever existed. But Alexander Dumas did not. He replaced the velvet with iron and immortalized the mysterious stranger as the man in the iron mask. Believe it or not.
Congratulations, your coached a pretty mean game.
Well, I had a pretty good teacher.
Did I teach you the part about the winning coach buying the Lowenbrow?
You got it.
Give me 10 minutes. I gotta go yell at my players.
When you want the taste of a truly great beer, tonight, let it be Lowenbrow.
So tell me, what'd you say to your teacher?
Told him we were out coached.
Let it be Lowenbrow.
Just in case you're feeling outnumbered at noon. Just in case you meet your new in-laws. Just in case something unexpected happens to you. You got your Dial.
Dial, the leading deodorant soap, has twice the active ingredient of the No. 2 brand. Twice as much. For confidence all day long.
Merry Christmas, boys! And a Merry Christmas from Dial.
The city of Amsterdam is deservedly famous for her scenic canals, but she possesses another side which, to some, is far more fascinating. They've been cutting and polishing stones in Europe for 500 years. Here in Amsterdam, Holland, and in Antwerp, Belgium, the diamond is king. 60% of the world's diamond dealing takes place in these two cities. Deals worth millions of dollars are transacted daily, sealed with just a handshake. The diamond trade is built on trust. Perhaps that's why they trust me with this $1 million. Most everyone knows that a diamond is one of the world's hardest substances. What is not so well known is that it can be reduced to powder with one sharp blow.
Believe it or not.
A diamond's mystical attraction can be both intoxicating and costly.
$730,000, $740,000, $760,000.
November 1969. In the bidding frenzy for the diamond Richard Burton bought for Elizabeth Taylor, the sky's the limit. More than an investment, it's an object of passion.
$1 million for it, $1 million. At $1,050,000.
Sold. $1 million extravagance that is, for some, a necessity.
But square cut or pear shape, these rocks don't lose their shape. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Tiffany's. Cartier. Black Star, Ross, Gorham. Talk to me, Harry Winston. Tell me all about it.
In the salons of the world's most elegant jewelers, the affluent pay astronomical prices for glittering stones which are, ironically, identical in their chemical composition to worthless chunks of coal. Though man has been fascinated with diamonds for thousands of years, only in the last few hundred have we perfected the techniques to capture their full brilliance. This diamond chunk, known as the Premier Rose, weighed more than 300 carats, yet looked as unimpressive as a lump of dirty ice. Only by being cut could it achieve its full glory. To make that possible, the diamond is perfectly duplicated in plastic. By studying the copy, a strategy for cutting the diamond can be evolved. To see inside the diamond, the polisher will grind out tiny windows to reveal the secrets of the grain within. His intuition is all important because diamond cutting is more art than science. A painful decision is reached. To realize its full brilliance, the diamond must be cut in two. Because only a diamond is hard enough to cut a diamond, the blade is impregnated with diamond powder. The risks are enormous. A single mistake in cutting can ruin the gem. It takes weeks to cut a few millimeters into the world's hardest substance. At any moment, it might shatter. For the cutter, it is a harrowing ordeal. Then, the decision is reached to split the smaller piece. It must be cleaved with one hammer blow that will bring perfection or disaster. Perfection. Two lackluster chunks will soon become dazzling diamonds. Meanwhile, the Premier Rose is ready for shaping and polishing, a process that will take a costly toll. For the diamond to achieve its full brilliance, almost half of it will be ground into dust. At one point, the polisher grinds away over $100,000 worth of diamond dust a day. At last, from one crude stone, 3 masterpieces. A pear-shaped jewel over 31 carats, a round brilliant over 2 carats, and the phenomenal Premier Rose over 137 dazzling carats. Thanks to human artistry, man has not only improved on nature, he has glorified it. Such gems are so costly, it usually takes a nation to afford one. The crown jewels of the world are more than a monarchy's most precious treasures. In times of crisis, their value can save a nation from financial collapse. Dazzled by these symbols of wealth and power, many have dreamed of someday magically being able to create diamonds themselves. Today, Japanese scientists have achieved that breakthrough, transforming chunks of carbon into real diamonds. The process, which in nature requires millions of years, takes place in a laboratory in mere days. Although it is still a closely guarded secret, a few details have been released. The carbon is placed within a machine which will subject it to a force of 1 million pounds per square inch, equivalent to the Earth's pressure 160 miles underground. As the crushing pressure builds, so will the temperatures, to 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Out of a closely monitored scientific process comes a surprising result. The man-made diamonds are identical to nature's creations, except in one extraordinary respect: their price. A small stone will cost only $20, but at such reasonable prices, will diamonds lose their glamorous mystique? Some diamonds have a value beyond price. Kept under heavy guard at the Smithsonian Institution, the Hope Diamond dazzles us with a macabre legend that surpasses its breathtaking 45 carats. For this fabled jewel is a glittering symbol of man's dark obsession with precious gems. There may be larger, more spectacular diamonds on Earth than the Hope Diamond, but none can claim to be more deadly. Unearthed in India, it was said that thieves plucked the glittering bauble from the eye of a Hindu temple goddess, and that's where an eerie and unsettling legend of a curse began. An adventurer and a gem trader named Jean Tavernier acquired the diamond under mysterious circumstances and sold it to Louis XIV, King of France, in 1668. Shortly afterwards, Tavernier, on a trip through Russia, would be torn to pieces by a pack of wolves. The diamond eventually passed to Marie Antoinette, a gift from her husband, Louis XVI. She loaned it to a Princess de Lamballe, and that unlucky lady was butchered by a Paris mob. A few weeks later, at the height of the French Revolution, Marie Antoinette, who had retrieved the jewel, lost her head to the guillotine. Then, the diamond surfaced in London in 1830. A banker, Henry Hope, acquired the diamond and gave it his name. Unfortunately, the diamond may have given its bad luck to several of the Hope heirs. One was to lose her fortune and her husband, and Hope's grandson was to die penniless. A succession of owners were even more unlucky. A Russian prince gave it to an actress at the Folies Bergère and then shot the unfortunate lady. A Greek owner and his wife were killed in a violent car crash, and a Turkish sultan who possessed the diamond for just a few months was later toppled in a military coup in 1909. The Hope Diamond then traveled to America in 1911. Evelyn Walsh McLean, the new owner, ignored the legend of the curse and fearlessly wore the lustrous diamond on every possible occasion. In the years to come, her husband would go insane, her daughter would die of a drug overdose, and she would become a morphine addict. Curse or coincidence? Well, in the long and sinister career of the Hope Diamond, few owners have escaped catastrophe of one sort or another. The most recent owner, the internationally known jeweler Harry Winston, showing enormous foresight, gave it away. This is a replica. The real Hope Diamond is safe and secure at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. You can see it, but the guards won't let you touch it. They're there to protect the diamond and perhaps you. Believe it or not. Because a perfect diamond is invisible in water, it is called a stone of the first water. Believe it or not. In a moment, high in the sky, a savage contest between the quick and the dead. And in Arctic waters, a marauding sea lion decimates a colony of penguins.
Tommy says he wants to play with his new game all day.
All day? Good thing Santa brought the Energizer.
Of all leading battery brands, nothing outlasts the Energizer from Ever-Ready. Nothing outsnaps it, nothing outadds, outwalks, outplays, outtapes, outshines, outlasts it. Nothing.
The Energizer even outlasted Allison.
The Energizer, energize for life. Long life.
Energize me.
Nissan Motor Corporation announces 9.9 annual percentage rate financing on any new Datsun truck. That's the lowest financing available from any manufacturer. The lowest in 10 years. 9.9% saves from $1,100 to over $1,800 in finance charges on any Datsun truck you want. Pick your Datsun truck and finance it at 9.9%. But hurry, 9.9% financing is available for a limited time only and only at your Datsun dealer.
Only from Atari. Made especially for systems from Atari. The video game that lets you help E.T. get home. Just in time for Christmas. Happy holidays.
Tuesday.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
It's the holiday classic, John Denver and the Muppets, A Christmas Together. Then Jack ties on the Christmas spirits.
Those rum drinks are really potent.
They're just as impotent as your drinks.
Three's company. And when the computer goes down, Judy may be out.
Your pink slip is showing.
9 to 5. Then the holiday killer makes a monkey out of Jonathan. Heart to heart.
Tuesday on ABC.
Someone once said, hope is a thing with feathers. And so it is when you consider these winged wonders are essential to our survival. By controlling the world's insect population, they help make our planet Earth habitable for human beings. A special concern of this aviary in Munich, Germany is the breeding of rare and unusual birds. To encourage breeding, the birds are placed in a completely natural environment, and then hopefully, nature will take its course. Of more than 1.5 million species of birds that have populated the Earth, about 8,580, or only 0.5%, are still living. The extinction of even a single species is a tragic loss to all of us, and not only from a practical point of view. That single loss means that our world is that much more diminished of grace and beauty, and of all the other qualities that have made birds one of the most studied and cherished of animals.
Majestic in flight, birds of prey are gifted with a lethal grace. They have been endowed by nature with the power to bring swift and certain death from above. With eyesight 3 times better than our own, the falcon stalks its victim in midair before homing in for the kill. Its attack velocity can exceed 200 miles per hour. The kingfisher has the extraordinary ability to hover in midair, searching the water for prey. Only when it is locked on target does it take its deadly plunge. In delicate contrast, the hummingbird uses its long, hollow tongue like a soda straw to sip nectar as its wings beat an astonishing 75 times per second. Remarkably, a bird's instinct can rival human inventiveness with its ingenious creations. The weaver bird is one of nature's most accomplished architects. In a surprising reversal, the male, not the female of the species, constructs the nest. Using only his beak, he weaves an intricate creation. Its purpose is to attract a mate. The female watches attentively as, hanging upside down from his completed nest, the male displays himself. Behavior the female instinctively finds seductive. After mating, the weaver will retire to the comfort of the nest to raise her young. But another species, the cuckoo, plays a bizarre shell game with its eggs. In a smaller bird's nest, it lays an egg resembling those of the host bird. Unaware of the deception, the obliging host nurtures the cuckoo's egg along with its own. But the egg of the cuckoo takes less time to incubate than the host's eggs. As soon as the host has helped the cuckoo to hatch, the tiny fledgling will perform a grim task. In an instinctive act of destruction, the newly hatched cuckoo pushes the other eggs from the nest. It will even send other fledglings to their death. Once it has disposed of its rivals, the cuckoo chick greedily devours all the food the host bird can bring it. Believe it or not, the hard-working host will not object, even when it is dwarfed by the voracious trespasser in its nest. The cuckoo's bizarre charade assures survival in a hostile environment. The world's harshest environment has forced another bird to evolve different survival skills. Swimming with the agility of porpoises in the icy waters of the South Atlantic, penguins flap their wings to literally fly underwater. These rockhopper penguins flock each year to this desolate rookery near Tierra del Fuego, Argentina, to hatch and care for their young. For the surrounding waters are rich in the food they will need to sustain the next generation. The only way the thousands of fledgling penguins can be fed is for their parents to regurgitate their meal of fish and crustaceans. The young swallow the warm broth in a mouth-to-mouth feeding. As the penguins set out to sea again, driven by the never-ending quest for food, they are not alone. In the icy waters, a sea lion bull is lying in ambush. The sight of the predator sparks a penguin stampede, but not all will be lucky enough to escape. The slow or the unwary will fall easy prey. Despite the unrelenting attack, the penguins must return to the sea. They will be free to find food for their young as long as the sea lion toys with its helpless victims. kills 20 penguins, then abandons the carcasses to scavenging gulls. Because a few penguins have been sacrificed, thousands of survivors can nurture the next generation. For even violence is part of nature's harmony. Often, a bird's fiercest enemy is man. When albatrosses flock to the Pacific island of Midway to breed, their landings endangered the flights of American jets. First, the Navy tried destroying the birds, but when they kept right on coming, the Navy decided to surrender. The Goonie bird, as the locals affectionately called the albatross, quickly became the irreverent mascot of Midway. Before they knew it, the residents had succumbed to Goonie mania. The ubiquitous Goonies play a game of chicken on Midway's roads. Driving here often requires a slalom run among the unflappable birds. The delicate task seems more unnerving for the drivers than for the Goonies themselves. As the time to leave Midway draws near, fledgling Goonies choose a spot dangerously close to the Midway landing strip to test their wings. Even for birds, flight is not purely instinctive. Learning to ride the wind on a 6-foot wingspan can be a painful process. Midway's main runway provides a dangerous obstacle to the bird's maiden flight. In the past, collisions have damaged aircraft and killed Goonies. Summoned by the control tower, a special Goonie bird squad has the ticklish mission of removing the 7-pound creatures that are keeping 75-ton transports from taking off.
The runway is clear of Goonie birds. Wind is 120 degrees at 90, cleared for takeoff, runway 6.
Goonies leave Midway, but they will always be welcome here, thanks to their gift for turning human enemies into friends.
Throughout history, there have been many wise old birds. There's a Basque legend of a bird that always tells the truth. Meanwhile, in Brittany, there are peasants who credit all birds with the power of human speech. And in every part of the world, there are people who believe that at one time at least, every bird had this power. How do I know all this? A little bird told me so. Believe it or not.
The eggs of an ostrich can support the weight of a 280-pound man. Believe it or not. In a moment, the face of Christ in the Last Supper threatened with destruction. The fight to save Egypt's treasures. The past demolished to make room for the future.
It's captivating. Exhilarating. Jubilating. And guaranteed to lift your spirits. Walt Disney's Peter Pan. Never forget the magic. Rated G. Now playing in selected areas. Christmas Day everywhere. Check your local listings.
My doctor said no aspirin, but this headache, I don't know what to take.
Take 3.
Take 3?
Yes, Anacin 3. It's 100% aspirin-free.
I didn't know Anacin 3 is aspirin-free. I'll try it.
Right. Anacin 3 is 100% aspirin-free and contains the most effective aspirin-free pain reliever you can buy.
Feeling better? Headache's gone. Thanks to Anacin 3.
Maximum strength Anacin 3, 100% aspirin-free.
Monday, meet the sweepstakes winner who catapulted from rags to riches and the girl who survived an avalanche by a miracle on That's Incredible. And on Monday Night Football, it's two quarterback legends as Dan Fouts and the San Diego Chargers take on Ken Anderson and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Ripley's Believe It or Not will continue in a moment.
Tonight,
The only thing that could make me happy is to see you dead.
Matt Houston's sweetheart is in big trouble.
There's nothing bigger than murder one.
Then, get ready for an NFL football special. The Atlanta Falcons take on Joe Montana and the San Francisco 49ers.
Tonight, at Rolling Acres Mall, Christmas is for the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. But most of all, Christmas is just for you.
I wish you could be here with me because you could see for yourself how much a third world child needs your help. Through Christian Children's Fund, you can reach out by sponsoring a child for just $18 a month. Please call this toll-free number now and find out about becoming a CCF sponsor. You can improve a child's life more than you'll ever know.
WAKR TV 23, Akron, Canton.
To create the new, often man must first destroy the old. But often, monuments of the past are destroyed through the violent instincts of man or the violent forces of nature. Above all, by the awesome power of time itself. Sometimes, our very way of life can take its toll on our best-loved monuments. Someone once coined the phrase that all good things must come to an end. Did he, I wonder, realize the terrible finality of that statement? There aren't too many people who don't recognize Venice. Hundreds of artists have painted it, thousands of tourists have photographed it, and millions of visitors have come here personally. Venice is one of the most recognizable places on Earth. A living museum of architectural treasures, Venice has been called man's most beautiful artifact. But for how much longer? Because Venice is disappearing, slowly, inch by inch. The city is being devoured by the water that surrounds her, by the air she breathes. In 1966, Venice suffered its worst flood in 1,000 years. Soon, the muddy waters of the Adriatic Sea inundated the city over 200 days every year. A third of the populace fled the city they loved. But the architecture of Venice could not so easily escape its fate. The air of Venice poses its own threat. The very industries that support the life of the city are destroying it. Sulfurous pollutants from nearby chemical factories wreak havoc on a 1,000-year-old heritage. Layers of black deposit deface the crowning glory of Venice, her architecture. And yet, the black stains conceal an even greater danger, the deep rot beneath, an affliction so devastating, the Venetians call it the leprosy of the stone. The face of Venice has been gravely scarred. The struggle to save her is a challenge that may require nothing short of a miracle to be achieved. The 2,400-year-old Parthenon in Athens, Greece, has been wrecked by bombs, plundered by greedy collectors. Today it suffers a more bizarre peril from an inhuman enemy,
rare destructive bacteria and parasites which infest the marble, consuming the stone itself. In Rome, the fierce roar of the city's traffic is now cracking the walls of the Colosseum, where Christians were once thrown to the lions. An amphitheater that survived 2,000 years of turbulent history is today endangered by vibrations from the busy streets that shake the ancient monument to its very foundations. Also endangered, in a Milan monastery, a breathtaking depiction of a holy event that is a sacred treasure.
Just as Venice is one of the world's most recognizable cities, behind all this scaffolding is one of the world's most recognizable paintings, Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. Unlike Venice, Milan doesn't have the sea eating away at her foundations, but the air here is even more destructive.
For almost 500 years, the church's polluted air has tormented the serene face of Christ. Ironically, Leonardo himself is largely to blame for the plight of his masterpiece, for the tempera pigment he had used to create his unforgettable images would not adhere to the church wall. Today, believe it or not, as specialists struggle to preserve it, Leonardo's Last Supper faces its last chance of survival. But it is possible to reverse the course of destruction. Construction of the Aswan Dam in Egypt caused the surrounding desert to be flooded with millions of gallons of water. Devastation was the seemingly inevitable price of progress. Along the Nile, villages had to be hastily evacuated before the deluge. Trapped in the onslaught of the rapidly rising waters were countless temples, Egypt's priceless heritage from the golden age of the pharaohs. The magnificent temple of Abu Simbel was also doomed. The challenge seemed more perplexing than the riddle of the Sphinx. The gigantic statues of the pharaoh Ramses II had to be lifted above the rising Nile, but they stood 70 feet high and weighed 1,200 tons apiece. An international rescue effort was spearheaded by the United Nations and the United States. They chose a bold strategy to cut the entire temple into massive blocks weighing 20 to 30 tons apiece, then move them to a safe new site 200 feet above the Nile. There, they would be reassembled like a jigsaw puzzle. For protection, the statues of the pharaohs suffered the indignity of being buried to their necks in sand. Workers painstakingly cut seams less than a quarter-inch wide. As the deadline approached, they sawed day and night. To avoid scarring the face of the pharaoh, his colossal head was removed in a single piece, weighing 30 tons. At his new location, his head fit into place with the astonishing tolerance of 1/25th of an inch. 200 feet above the Nile, the pharaoh could continue his reign, facing east to greet the rising sun as he had for over 3,000 years. Abu Simbel is proof that man need not surrender the treasures of his past to modern forces of destruction. But perhaps nowhere have those destructive forces been stranger than in a remote corner of France, the caves of Lascaux.
Here at the fortress La Roque San Christophe, Neanderthal man took shelter from prehistoric predators. His bones, a few simple tools and caves like these, are the only proof of his existence. 80,000 years later, there had evolved a special breed of cavemen, Cro-Magnon. In the caves of Lascaux, these survivors of the last ice age left proof of their highly developed skills, both as hunters and artists. The anonymous Cro-Magnon painters depicted a startling menagerie. Hundreds of portraits of Paleolithic creatures that have been extinct in this French valley for thousands of years. Extinct everywhere, that is, but on the walls and ceilings of Lascaux. In one of history's tragic ironies, our very fascination with the paintings of Lascaux threatened to obliterate them. The carbon dioxide from the breath of thousands of visitors and the warmth from artificial lighting nourished harmful algae and fungi which defaced the cave walls. Either the cave paintings were doomed, or modern man had to be exiled forever. There could be but one tragic solution to the dilemma. In 1945, just 5 years after their discovery, the caves of Lascaux were declared a national monument. 19 years later, the French government ordered the caves sealed. Modern man was forbidden from trespassing into his own past. And so, what is probably the oldest museum of its kind in the entire world has closed its doors to the public forever. Believe it or not. A single gravestone is all that remains of a village in Germany. The entire population emigrated to America. Believe it or not. In a moment, good things in small packages, miniature landmarks made out of plastic, matchstick masterpieces, and one man's scaled-down fantasy.
Look, Becky's buying me aqua velva for Christmas. It's for me.
Would he like this?
Well, what's he like?
Oh, tall and strong and handsome.
Then he's an aqua velva man. An aqua velva man.
Aqua Velva gift sets. Ice blue refreshment guaranteed to let him know he's pretty special.
Great. Dad'll love it.
Her dad? I don't believe it.
Merry Christmas to Aqua Velva men everywhere.
Wow.
We took the label off Aquafresh to show you what nobody else has. Our triple protection formula. All the cavity-fighting fluoride of the leading paste. All the breath freshener of the leading gel. And gentle cleaners that even remove stained film. Concentrated in one complete toothpaste.
So that's what triple protection looks like.
Triple Protection Aquafresh. A complete toothpaste.
Disc photography by Kodak. It's changing the way people take pictures.
Picture a brand new world.
The Kodak disc camera advances the film automatically, so you can get the pictures you may have missed before. And it knows when to flash, and can flash again in 1 1/3 seconds. All you do is push one button. The Kodak Disc 4000 camera. Bet you know someone who'd love one.
Picture a brand new world.
Wednesday, following the president's news conference, Sarah's bait for a double agent.
Sarah!
And the traps got Jake on the tails of the gold monkey. Then,
Ladies.
a winter resort turns into an avalanche of terror.
Hang on.
The ball guy. And
It's a divorce decree.
It's a phony.
Crystal's got to settle it alone.
I want to know where my wife is now.
On Dynasty.
Join us Wednesday on ABC.
Toys make children feel like adults, and adults feel like children. Legoland is a place where we can all be giants. Masters of a perfect tiny world. This park is the creation of Gottfried Christensen, the inventor of the Lego system of plastic blocks. I always loved dollhouses. I imagined a whole world in miniatures existed around me when I played with mine. That world is real here in Billund, Denmark, in this 20-acre park of tiny replicas. What's also extraordinary about this miniature world is that everything in it has been painstakingly built of tiny plastic bricks. Here, the simplest of building blocks can create the most elaborate of panoramas. The scaled-down scenery includes a meticulous reproduction of Amsterdam's canals. The Lilliputian community has mushroomed into a gigantic tourist attraction. The park welcomes almost 1 million life-size visitors a year. This tiny reflection of our world keeps pace with the future. The Space Shuttle Columbia, their newest replica, took 7 months to build. Ancient monuments have also been reproduced, faithful to the smallest detail. To see the originals would require a round-the-world journey. But here, tourists can enjoy a bird's-eye view of them in miniature. Believe it or not, there are more than 1.5 million tiny bricks in this replica of Mount Rushmore. This copy is almost as remarkable as the real thing.
For John Hart, railroads are a consuming passion that has also consumed his house. So elaborate are his trains that railroad buffs help man the controls inside his home in Surbiton, England. In the unfortunate event of Mr. Hart's demise, they'll make sure his trains keep right on running. The railroad provides regular service between kitchen, yard, and garage. For John Hart, it offers a special kind of trip.
I think possibly there is something about a model railway which enables one to become a little king over one's own empire. I'm not saying that in the dictatorship type of the meaning, but I think there's something in all of us that likes to be just a little bit on top.
Despite his collection of 13,000 toy soldiers, John Ruddle isn't satisfied. To swell his army's ranks, he pours molten lead into a plaster of Paris mold, creating more raw recruits. Then he will give them a spit and polish shine, painting on elaborate uniforms. Some collectors lock away their toy soldiers to gather dust. John Ruddle will test his in the heat of battle in the yard of his suburban London home. A troop train rushes in reinforcements. Full-scale war is about to erupt in his garden. As commander, John Ruddle maps out the strategy. But once the battle lines are drawn, he expects every toy soldier to do his duty. Sometimes, creating a miniature world can be both costly and elaborate. But in London, one extraordinary sculptor has allowed an object as simple as a household match to fire his imagination. Irwin Crockett began his unlikely craft as therapy for his arthritis. His hobby soon became his passion. Crockett opens every matchbox with a critical eye. A box of 40 will yield only a few matches suitable for carving. It took Crockett 18 painstaking hours to carve a wooden chain fashioned from a single matchstick. Captured in miniature, even mundane objects become things of wonder. With the simplest of materials and extraordinary craftsmanship, Irwin Crockett has created a world that is truly matchless. More of Ripley's Believe It or Not in a moment.
Get a little closer.
Now don't be shy. You can get a little closer with Arid Extra Dry.
Only Arid has a patent on this formula that fights wetness.
No leading deodorant spray stops odor better.
And now Arid in a new Baby Fresh scent. That's Baby Fresh on you.
Get a little closer with Arid Extra Dry.
Try new Arid Baby Fresh Spray and Roll-On. Tough on wetness and odor.
But Baby Fresh on you.
Hello, I'm George Plimpton. Here's an easy question for you.
Okay, Mr. Plimpton.
Which of these home video games looks more like a real arcade game? Intellivision Lock and Chase from Mattel Electronics?
Gee, if people had this game at home, my arcade could be in big trouble.
Or Atari Pac-Man?
Blinky, you look pale.
If you picked Intellivision,
you're absolutely correct.
Next on Ripley's Believe It or Not, a tribe in Africa that may be eating itself into extinction by feasting on crocodiles. An Englishman who refuses to believe that gorillas are ferocious and wrestles with them to prove his point. An incredible army of clay soldiers buried to protect an emperor on his journey into eternity. And a woman preserved for 2,100 years, her body still intact. Next on Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Friday, share Pinocchio's unforgettable adventure in Pinocchio's Christmas, a holiday special for the whole family. Then Jonathan Winters and Flip Wilson star in The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh on the ABC Friday Night Movie. Now stay tuned for Matt Houston next, followed by an ABC NFL football special.
A sports update brought to you by Michelob Light. Now, from ABC News in New York, Dick Schaff.
Good evening. The Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins, old and unfriendly rivals, improved their records to 6-1 today, which means both are certain to be in the playoffs leading to Super Bowl 17. Dallas pounced on New Orleans in the second quarter. This pass play, Danny White to Drew Pearson for 41 yards, setting up the first Cowboy touchdown, scored by Tony Dorsett. For Washington, in a far more dramatic game, Mark Mosley was the hero. His third field goal of the game, a 42-yarder with 4 seconds to play, gave the Redskins victory over the New York Giants and gave him 21 field goals in his last 21 attempts. That is a National Football League record, breaking the mark set by Garo Yepremian. Another string ended today, the 6-game losing streak of the Baltimore Colts. Randy McMillan's bold touchdown run lifted the Colts into a tie with Green Bay, and neither team was able to score in overtime. Green Bay, now 4-2-1, and Minnesota, now 4-3, are still strong candidates to join Dallas and Washington among the National Conference playoff teams. Now this.
Michelob Light for the winner.
Your horse never ran like that before.
He knows my favorite beer when he hears it.
Michelob Light.
In the American Conference, Buffalo and Pittsburgh on the brink of clinching playoff berths, both were beaten today. Buffalo losing a 16-10 lead when Tampa Bay's Doug Williams passed to Gordon Jones for that touchdown. And Pittsburgh losing a 7-3 lead when Cleveland's Johnny Davis drove 1 yard for this touchdown. Cincinnati can clinch a spot in the playoffs by beating San Diego tomorrow on ABC's Monday Night Football. More later on the ABC News Weekend Report.
Could skyrocketing costs force healthcare rationing? Monday, watch ABC's World News Tonight.
Take a bird to paradise at Lowe's Harbor Cove on Paradise Island in the beautiful Bahamas. The Harbor Cove Hotel. Tennis, day or night, Bahama style. And Lowe's Harbor Cove is the scuba center of the islands. We'll show you how, then we'll take you to explore the wonders of the Bahamas Coral Kingdom. Surround